Welcome to your Get That Nugget for GCSE Maths. Today we will be concentrating on giving you a framework to answer questions about expanding triple brackets. This session is to complement your lessons with your teachers and is not to replace them in any way. Okay, before we get started on this session on expanding triple brackets, two things to note. First and foremost is this is a higher tier only topic, so it's a grade 6 topic. So if you are doing foundation, please do not worry about doing this video. It is not going to come up on the foundation paper. Secondly, expanding triple brackets, what we are doing is expanding 3 brackets that are next to each other. There is a video on expanding double brackets, and my suggestion is that you watch that video before this one, because it will give you an indication of the method that we are going to use. Now, there are a number of different methods that you can use for expanding triple brackets. I'm going to use the box or the grid method, depending on how people call it. And the reason I do that is because I think it is the easiest and the best method for expanding triple brackets. Now, first and foremost, what we're going to do is we're going to ignore this last bracket on the end, and we're going to expand these 2 brackets here. And the way we do that is exactly the same as the method that we did when we expanded double brackets. And that is by drawing ourselves a grid like this. It doesn't have to be neat. You'll notice I've not done it with a pen. It's not perfect lines. It just has to be a grid like this. Now, what we're going to do along the top is we're going to write x plus 2. And the reason we write that is because that is our first bracket. And then down the side, we're going to write x plus 5. Because that is our second bracket. Then what we're going to do is we're going to multiply these terms together. So in this box here, we're going to multiply x by x. Now, x multiplied by x, that gets us x squared. This second box here, x multiplied by 2, that gets me plus 2x. Now, the reason I put a plus is just to show that it's an addition, it's a positive. It's always worth doing, particularly when you get a negative, you'll have a negative, and it just gives you an indication of the sign you're going to use. This box here, x times by 5 gets me plus 5x. And then this box here, 2 times by 5 gets me plus 10. Now, if I was to write this all out, I would have x squared plus 2x plus 5x plus 10. And what I can then do is I can simplify by collecting like terms, these x's in the middle. 2x plus 5x, that's going to get me 7x. So I'm going to end up with x squared plus 7x plus 10. Now, that's my first 2 brackets expanded. What I then need to do is multiply by my third bracket here. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm still going to go 2 down on a grid, but this time I'm going to go a little bit further along because I'm going to go 3 squares along. And what I mean by that is something like this, and then still 2 down the side. Now, along the top, what I'm going to do is I'm going to write the product of my first 2 expanded brackets, which I know to be x squared plus 7x and plus 10. And then down the side, I'm going to write my last bracket, which I haven't multiplied by yet, which is x plus 1. Then we're going to do our multiplication. So this box here, x multiplied by x squared gets me x cubed. 7x multiplied by x gets me plus 7x squared. 10 multiplied by x gets me plus 10x. X squared multiplied by 1 gets me plus x squared. We don't need to write the 1. 7x multiplied by 1 gets me plus 7x. And 10 multiplied by 1 gets me 10. What I can then do is write all of this out. I write my x cubes first. What I would then do, rather than going across like this, is I would write my x squareds together because I know I'm going to collect those. So I'm going to put plus 7x squared and plus x squared. If you want to, you can cross out in the table to show which you've already written down. Then I'm going to write my x's, so plus 10x plus 7x, and then I've got a plus 10 on the end. Then what I need to do is I need to collect my like terms. Now 7x squared and x squared I can collect together. I haven't got any other x cubed, so I just need to leave that as an x cubed. 7x squared plus x squared, that's going to give me 8x squared because I've got 7 plus 1 of them. And then this bit here, 10x adds 7x, that's going to get me plus 17x. And then I have only got 1 constant on the end, so plus 10. And there we have our expanded triple brackets. Okay, let's have a look at example number 2 then. Expand and simplify x minus 3, x plus 8, and x plus 1. So first and foremost, we're going to expand these first 2 brackets. Again, with our 2 by 2 square grid. Like I said, it doesn't have to be neat. We're going to have x minus 3 along the top, and we're going to have x plus 8 Down the side, x multiplied by x gets me x squared. X multiplied by minus 3 gets me minus 3x. Again, this is why it's really handy to have our signs written in. X times by 8 gets me plus 8x. And minus 3 times by 8, a minus times by a positive gets us a negative, and 3 times 8 gets me 24. So what I'm then left with there is x squared minus 3x plus 8x minus 24. I can collect these like terms in the middle. That leaves me with an x squared minus 3x plus 8x. That gets me 5x. And then minus 24. Then we're going to draw our second grid out. This one a little bit longer across. Splitting it into 3. And then along the top, x squared plus 5x minus 24. And then down the side, x plus 1. X squared times by x gets me x cubed. X times by 5x gets me plus 5x squared. X times by minus 24 gets me minus 24x. X times by 1 gets me plus x squared. Sorry, it's an x squared at the top. 5x times by 1 gets me plus 5x. And minus 24 times by 1 gets me minus 24. If I write all of that out, write my x cubes first, my x squared second, so I've got plus 5x squared here, and I've got an x squared here. Write my x's next. I've got minus 24x, and I've also got plus 5x, and then I've got a minus 24 on the end. And then collect our like terms. 5x squared plus x squared. That's going to leave me with 1x cubed plus 5x squared plus x squared is going to get me 6x squared. And then I've got minus 24x plus 5x. Well, minus 24 plus 5 is going to get me minus 19x. And then I've got minus 24 on the end. Okay, let's have a look at one more example. Expand and simplify x minus 9, x minus 1, and x minus 2. So again, we start off with our 2 by 2 grid to expand our first two brackets. We're going to do x minus 9, and we're going to do x minus 1. X times by x gets me x squared. X times by minus 9 gets me minus 9x. X times by minus 1 gets me minus x. And minus 9 times by minus 1 gets me plus 9. Now the reason it gets me a plus here is because we're doing a negative multiplied by a negative. Write that all out. We have x squared minus 9x minus x plus 9. Minus 9x minus x, we can simplify. That's going to get us minus 10x. So that leaves us with x squared minus 10x plus 9. Then we need to draw our second grid to multiply what we have just worked out, which is the product of our first two brackets, and we need to multiply that by our third bracket. So along the top, we're going to have x squared minus 10x plus 9, and down the side, we're going to have x take away 2, because that's our third bracket, which we haven't multiplied by yet. Okay, this box here then, x squared multiplied by x gets me x cubed, minus 10x multiplied by x gets me minus 10x squared, x times by 9 gets me plus 9x, x squared times by minus 2 gets me minus 2x squared, minus 10x times by minus 2. Now because we've got our two negatives, that becomes a positive, and 10x times by 2 gets me plus 20x. 9 times by minus 2 gets me minus 18. Let's write all of that out. Our x cubes first, minus 10x squared, minus 2x squared, because we do our x squares together. Then our x's, plus 9x, plus 20x, and then take away 18. Then we can collect our like terms. So minus 10x squared minus 2x squared, x cubed, minus 10x squared minus 2x squared is going to get me minus 12x squared. And then we've got 9x plus 20x is going to get me plus 29x, and then minus 18. And that is our fully expanded product. Okay, there are 2 examples there for you to have a go at.